Please welcome to the stage the one, the only, the legendary Bruce Benderson.
Snarl. Old people are always in a bad mood. We hurt all over, you know? Anyway, one of the most obnoxious things you can do, even worse than plugging a book, is to do something to promote a political cause. Like Vanessa Redgrave and her remark about the Palestinians at the Academy Award, or in 1973 when Marlon Brando sent a Native American. Didn't do them any good. That's not going to stop me from trying.
I got more! Yeah!
Now, that just happens to be the name of a book that I will have on display at the Whitney Biennale. But that's not the only reason I'm showing it. I want to know why the two most conservative institutions in the United States, the military and marriage, are the main political agenda of a certain minority group today.
Preach it!
Yes, Shavitsa, I would have been God. I hated hippies. And I want to remind people that in the 1950s, there was great pressure to be married, and when you weren't, you were an outcast. We had to drag Aunt Lil everywhere we went because she didn't have her own husband and her own family. There were words like spinster and maiden and mama's boy if you were unmarried and lived with your mother. And guess what? Once gays are allowed into the marriage pool, that attitude is just going to get larger and more oppressive for we bachelors, right? Not only that, but once they find out that the new people that are part of that institution are not quite following the same rules, if you know what I mean, there's going to be big trouble. Okay, well, it has nothing to do with the piece I'm going to read, so I'll start. The worst place in New York is the surface of my bed, an area of 3,922 square inches, bought by caring parents to support my lately overfed body in comfort and offered a feeling of security that may extend my life by warding off illnesses caused by stress or fatigue. But this mattress, positioned in an East Village building of poorly renovated apartments on a noisy street, is the locus of certain activities of various degrees of comfort and risk, and now supports my body next to one of considerably greater density due to its much younger age and many street brawls, its seasonal stints on an Alaskan fishing boat, its past as a transient avoiding arrest warrants, and its subsequent terms of prison. A feature of the body that shifts the surface of the mattress out of the zone of security intended by my parents into a zone of chaos and possible danger, like that of the busy street outside, is the flat, tense chest. It would feature inflated pectorals if the body had been developed in a safe gym requiring a steep subscription, but has instead been hardened by all that fighting and flight and work. Most of the power is seated in the back and stomach and forearms and wrists and thighs and hands instead of the chest and shoulders, due to hauling, shoveling, punching, running, kicking, as well, I surmise, as the tension of buried anger smoldering in every gesture and hunching the muscles into coils of potential threat. This is not to say that the scarred, tattooed body that lies on this bed after its most recent incarceration for assaulting a Grand Central commuter who struggled against its theft of her purse is not capable of striking gestures of affection or even elegant tenderness. Actually, gestures of sensuality would be more apt a word. Impulses of the moment with no follow-up, commitment, or sense of contradiction, were they to lead to other impulses, such as illegal appropriations of property or bursts of uncontrolled temper. The The possibility of this surface transformed from a place of rest and protected sleep to one of pleasure and risk and danger to become the worst place in New York seems somewhat likely considering the personal history brewing not very far below the sensual surface of this caressing, stroking, occasionally kissing, very dense body next to mine. He portrays himself as reborn and recovered, thanks to months in a drug treatment program in which he was placed after serving this most recent prison sentence. Yet there is a hollow quality to his claims of new respectability, touted by his starched white short-sleeve shirt, his loose-pressed chino pants, and those improbable loafers that look so out of place in the East Village bar where we met. Under the shell of this wholesome image, I imagine, are deep chasms of hopelessness, promiscuous anger, black cynicism, expressed, oh my God, I didn't turn out well, in desperate ways. There are hints that he still looks at life in the same way as he did before his supposed recovery, which merely dumped him from the drug treatment center into a new bout of homelessness, though not yet long enough to wrinkle the wholesome white shirt and chino pants. That shell of decency was removed long ago, as his temptingly dense flesh is spread out on the space of the mattress. But now the lean, strong hands covered with calluses and scarred cartilage on the knuckles are already gripping my shoulder, while the powerful arm while the powerful arm has my neck in something of an arm lock and an embrace. The insolent, scratchy voice is already barking its boasts, commands, and interpreting as law what is happening on the television near the bed, while mocking my weak comments, or crowing about plans for success in the rainbow drug-free future, mentioning some of the objects in the room with a touch of angry envy, as he lolls against me and stares at my black cat, which seems to represent to him a consciousness he cannot master. The cat stays seated like a black sphinx, throwing back his gaze, and he's not the type who let anything humiliate him. Perhaps amplified by a substance he took in my bathroom, his teeth are grinding so hard that I can hear the vibrations in my own skull. It always happened that a child, a girlfriend, a prison guard behaved in exactly the same way, he's explaining. But he won't let an animal get away with it. Because on that Caribbean island when he was 11, before the death of his mother, he was forced to apprentice at a slaughterhouse, so that initial revulsion and tenderness and shame at lives cut short, moment after moment, soon changed into a sense of mastery. And now it's essential that he let the cat know who's boss. I have to use all of my soothing, accommodating craft to lure him into forgetting that black cat. So I boost his ego, trivialize the incident, and build him up, becoming ever more diplomatic, admittedly finding my nerve and my swoon over the miracle of such a hard, alert young body dropped onto the surface of this bed like a time bomb ticking and coiling toward an unknown moment of detonation. But his sharp, hurt laugh is beginning to sound like something cracking. It's ready to go off in an irrational flash, the prelude to the subjugation of one male by another, on this electrified surface over which menace radiates in exhilarating waves. To take my mind off it, I study the scar in his forehead, which he has told me came from a foster father. When he was 13, he took a dollar bill from the man's pants pocket. Rage gushed from the foster father's eyes and contorted, drunken mouth as he lifted a sewing machine and hurled it at the boy. The spindle dented his forehead and slammed the back of his head against the peeling plasterboard beneath the velveteen print of Martin Luther King. The impact of the collision affected a nerve in his face, which partly explains the frequent grinding of teeth and the lopsided smile, curtailed by that grimace, I suppose. The extra cartilage on his hands must be from the bare-knuckled boxing he practiced one summer at the age of 14 to win money to buy heroin. If he was knocked out, the small audience in the vacant lot bought him a bag to pay for the entertainment. And if he knocked out his opponent, He also got a share of the bets on him so he could buy more of the drug. This explains the slightly chipped front tooth. It points to the blood scars on his shins from tripping and falling on car parts in that lot after taking his shot of heroin and collapsing. In order to win his bouts, he had to picture what happened when he was 6, and his father came in with noisy, humid breath, leaning over the mattress where he and his mother were sleeping, using superhuman strength to yank up the edge of the mattress until it was standing on its side as he and his mother rolled out of the warm, safe space, and her bony body thudded against his on the chilly pine floor. He had to crawl away as his father grabbed her by the ankle and dragged her across the floor toward the stove, against which he knocked her head over and over until blood matted her long, dark, gleaming hair. She'd always had such beautiful hair. I really shouldn't think about this. The more I look for reasons for the river of violence flowing below the voice, the more apt I am to provoke it. He pushes start on the remote control of the VCR. The Asian woman on the screen is being wrapped ever tighter with a silk cord. The legs spread-eagled at a wider and wider angle. The hairs covering her vagina seem improbably straight and stiff and long. Her eyes roll upward in their sockets, and her head thrusts back as she gnaws on the strand of hair in her mouth, while fingers pry apart the lips of her vagina. It would be most sensible to surrender to this force field he has created on the mattress surface, slipping so far from the influence of my parents who bought it. Farther and farther away we seem to float. Or perhaps it is they who are receding, like a camera image in reverse zoom. My best chance for safety is to believe implicitly in what is happening and accept his inflated claims, paranoid suspicions, ravenous mastery, tattoos, scars, chipped tooth, accusing empty eyes, bulging thighs, rapacious fleshly lips, steely back, deep sculpted armpit hollow. Now his teeth are biting playfully but too roughly into my neck, the broad thumb and forefinger gripping my nipple in too firm a pinch, the heavy as marble thigh pinning mine under it, the mattress surface spinning in space as surrender makes my nipple melt into the stinging pressure and my neck into the bite as his full weight begins to crush me. So that I must breathe in and out and sink. Can only breathe in when the terrific breath breathes out, or when the probing insolent tongue in my mouth lets me come up for air, while the hands grip my temples with such tearing force that I'm sure they're leaving marks. And the body shifts to push my head against the wall as his penis rends my throat like a stake thrust into rotting wood. And I gaze up at the shoulders bulging as if they were about to rip a tree root from the earth, ripping me by the roots from the everyday boundary of the mattress surface into a rushing world where whores must pay or die and where our Father is God and enemy. In fact, the surface of this mattress feels open and flowing now. Lying next to me is a naked, muscular man wearing a condom. The tip is flooded with semen. A sullen, humiliated look troubles his eyes. Light footsteps are heard through the ceiling in the apartment above. He leaps to his feet, pounding belligerently on the wall because people have no respect. Then he is back down on the mattress surface again to light a cigarette as if nothing had happened. But something has happened to me. I've become so relaxed, transparent, open, that the expression floating to my face immediately informs him of everything that I am thinking. The porno film is finished and the TV program is back on. He explains what is happening in it, but he can see by my face that it is not so. My lack of submission annoys him, but it's obvious from the bored tolerance in his face that he's not surprised this has happened. He takes another drag from the cigarette, and when he exhales it, he farts and laughs. But the laugh is at his expense, his vulgarity, and I roll aside. The surface of the mattress is reconstituting. It really is a quality mattress, strongly stitched and reinforced. buttons sewn at predictable intervals, firm and regular, with a lifetime guarantee. The kind of mattress that might be a godsend for someone having to work in the morning. He is getting dressed, putting back on the same socks which betray a faint odor, picking up the pressed pants that had been carefully draped against a chair, putting on the starched shirt which looks slightly more limp than it did before. The cat comes back to perch at the foot of the bed. As he takes the money I've removed from the desk drawer, his eyes focus on the floor. In the perimeter of the wide mattress, which I have settled back on, the TV remote in one hand, waiting until he walks out and the door clicks shut, to leave me alone on this strangely spacious surface in the rank odor of sweat on the damp sheets, a stale silence clothing the hollow sound of the TV, life returning to its meaninglessness, and the surface of the mattress expands its boundaries against the living world, gets infinitely wider and more barren, horribly bright and stale, surrounded by darkness, and in its isolation becomes the emptiest, most cursed place in all of New York.